plans for the next generation built to destroy. Make it fat and fancy factory and footwear for the millions. And the fascination with life is that it will end for the pursuit of charlatans, sinners, and orgies on the beach. And a sin can only happen if you believe that it's real. Everything is precious. Everything is droll. Nothing is sacred. All is the same. All is the same. It's a life of excitement and plateaus of pleasure. In the absence of reduction, it takes little to lose when awareness takes its hold. Good nature to the core. Everything is precious. Everything is droll. Nothing is sacred. All is the same. 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 All is the same.
Welcome back to the show. That was Touched, Unknown track number 5. People from El Dorado County, California, say they're hearing loud booms several times a week, but there are many theories on what could be causing them. According to one person, they thought it was thunder, but it's definitely not thunder, too consistent, so perhaps it was mining. They've also considered sonic booms from flying aircraft for several years as well. People who live near Pleasant Valley say their days have been interrupted by loud booms shaking the floor beneath them. According to one Pleasant Valley resident, you can feel it in the ground, no question about it, but no one's been able to figure out why. I tend to hear somewhere between 4 to 6 of these during the weekdays, usually between 11 p.m. and 2 p.m. Boom, boom, boom is described as a go, according to Lauren Gonzalez, who lives near Pleasant Valley. And the rolling foothills of El Dorado County make it difficult for them to even tell where it's coming from. When asked the owner of the Sierra Rock Diamond Quarry that if he knew about it, he says they haven't blasted in that area for 1 year. And any miners or quarry owners would need government permission before they can set off any explosives. And it is a federally mandated system which is enforced. Some think the booming sounds are from nearby wineries using propane cannons to scare away birds. We've never done it before, and we don't know of any other winery that does that, according to Gary Bendick, a winemaker in the area. According to the USGS, there aren't enough seismic stations to pinpoint the exact location. Meanwhile, some say the booms have been around so long that they happen so often, they barely notice them anymore. Still, others want to solve the mystery. I would like to know what it is, and I'd like to know when it's going to stop, according to one resident. CBS channel number 13 in that area has spoke to Fallon Naval Air Station, and they said that any supersonic flight operations that they do are only allowed over Dixie Valley, which is hundreds of miles away. Some think that it could be illegal mining, but there's doubts to that theory. If it were illegal mining, according to some sources, they would have been caught already. It is now 1:36. We lost a national figure, some would say a national hero, earlier this week with the death of 82-year-old Apollo 11 astronaut, first man on the moon, Neil Armstrong. Neil Armstrong may have been one of the most famous people who've ever lived, but he was also a modest man who didn't seek out the spotlight, according to those who knew the late astronaut. Armstrong died last Saturday at the age of 82 due to complications from a recent cardiac bypass operation. He shot to international fame on July 20th, 1969, when he became the first person to set foot on the moon. But the commander of NASA's Apollo 11 mission and the first person to walk on the moon didn't glory in his iconic moment, viewing it instead as all in a day's work, according to his family. As his boot pressed into the gray lunar dirt 43 years ago, Armstrong uttered perhaps the 20th century's most famous line, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." And by all accounts, he really meant it, according to experts. What he was partaking in was only about furthering the human adventure, furthering what it meant to be human, according to space historian Robert Perelman and editor of collectspace.com, and space.com is where I got this story. When he said that he went to the moon for all mankind and that it was a giant leap for all mankind, it really was. Apollo 11 was Armstrong's last trip to space, and he left NASA in 1971 to become a professor of aerospace engineering at the University of Cincinnati. He kept a low profile after his astronaut days that some observers branded him a recluse, an unfair characterization according to Perlman. He said that was untrue. What he didn't do was go to Hollywood, he didn't seek the spotlight, and he didn't walk down the red carpet. Armstrong's approach contrasted greatly with that taken by his fellow 11 moonwalker Buzz Aldrin. We're both fortunate to have represented on the same mission, according to Perlman. We've got the one who was okay with having Buzz Lightyear named after him, and action figures made in television movie of his life, and all the rest. And with Neil, we have someone who objected to Hallmark putting his name on an ornament, and who didn't want anything to do with the pop culture world. Uncharacteristically, Armstrong waded into the public eye in 2010 when he voiced his strong objection to the Obama administration's decision to cancel NASA's moon-oriented Constellation program. He also publicly aired his concerns about the agency's plan to rely on American private spaceships as astronaut taxis in the wake of the space shuttle's retirement. He was quoted as saying, "We will have no American access to it in return from low Earth orbit and the International Space Station for an unpredictable length of time in the future." He wrote that in a testimony for a hearing of the in front of the U.S. House of Representatives on science, space, and technology in September 2011. For a country that has invested so much for so long to achieve a leadership position in space exploration, this condition is viewed by many as a lament, embarrassing, and unacceptable. Armstrong's willingness to speak out about NASA's future in the last 2 years of his life shows how much he cared about the agency and about humanity's future in space. Because of his giant leap in 1969, Armstrong is a large part of the future. However it takes shape, the astronaut eventually made some degree of peace with his outsized status, says space policy expert George Washington University professor John Longsdon, who crossed paths with Armstrong many times over the past 4 decades. He was never comfortable with his status as an icon because of Apollo 11, but as he got older, he accepted the reality and came to enjoy sharing his experience of landing on the moon with all who would listen. That story came from www.space.com. As a person who had always followed NASA and the space program, it was a sad day to hear that Neil Armstrong had passed away. Definitely one of those moments in the 20th century that will always remain in the history books. So that is probably my last news story for this segment of the show. I've got about 3 minutes left. I'm going to play, let's see if I can find a song that will kind of close us out for the day. Let's see here. What shall I play for you guys today? Oh, that's a good one. I'll play some Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and we'll take a break and see you back here in 15 minutes after the show. Please enjoy.